Hello and welcome back to Intimate Encounters. I'm here with Adam and me.
Samantha. Okay, we got that the wrong way around. And today we have a very special guest, a friend of both of ours.
So we actually met here in Bansko.
Like 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And when we met, she was just starting up her business,
which is called Compass to Connection. And it's this really awesome business that helps heal and maintain connections, helps you follow your heart and your desires. And
now she's living in Belgium, where you're from, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually has her own practice that she's working in.
And she's fully booked and she's just killing it. And we're super excited to have her on our show.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about playfulness.
Curiosity.
Yeah, and just like how that pans out in relationships.
I don't know if you can tell, but like Sam and I are pretty playful normally. So we think we have quite a lot to say.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, Minna, can you please like introduce yourself?
And also, I just wanted to say, your name was Ina.
Yes.
We met you. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your name change as well.
Okay. Yes. Hello. Yeah, I was born actually as Ina, and my grandmother started to call me Minna when I was super young. And I really liked that name because there was even like a riddle about it, about the cats and Minna, which was just pretty funny. And then all my friends started to call me like that as well. And I changed it when I was starting to look for work because I thought it was more professional. And it just didn't feel right anymore when I also connected again more with the playfulness of mine. And I wanted to, just come back to that playful, curious Minna. And that's why I changed it back to Minna. And it just sounds pretty good, especially like in Dutch. It's coming from Old Germanic, which means to love. So it's beautiful, connected with like the business.
I think also it like rolls off the tongue like so well. Like Minna. Well, I want to say, well, in my English accent, I read it as like Minnie Marlowe, like Minnie Mouse. But I think it's a great name. We're actually talking about this kind of off camera before we started about maybe we might do some name changes ourselves.
Maybe. We'll have to play around and find out.
Oh! Did someone say segue?
So, thank you for introducing yourself.
Yes.
And getting back to the topic at hand. The reason why we thought it would be a good subject is actually
because we thought that in our lives, Sam and I are very like naturally playful people. I think I would say even she's one of the most playful, like silly people I've ever met.
Yeah, silliness in all corners of the day, of the house, of the
room,
Yeah.
anywhere. And so when Sam thought of this idea, we thought it'd be cool to like team up together with Minna because she feels a very similar way.
And she actually hosts workshops on playfulness. She, I believe, hosted one in Bansko last year. Yeah. But she definitely does host them. So maybe you could just tell us a bit more about these workshops and how they play out.
Yeah, so I started to host Playfight workshops because for me it's really connected to this playfulness, and we need the playfulness if we want to like explore within intimacy or sexuality to just make it more like a curious, fun thing to do, and to also drop out of the head, back into the body where the fun is going on. During these Playfight workshops, I invite people to go back to the animalistic side of themselves, where we are like growling and like rolling around, and really like it's a combination, I would say, between the animalistic parts, like a conscious meditative part, because of course there are like rules, and you have to be like mindful about how you're touching people. And then also this childish part where you are like really going back into that, I don't know if you had brothers or sisters when you grew up, but you know, in the couch, like pushing each other off and bringing that energy back into it.
So like when you're hosting these workshops, is it just for couples, or is it for friendships as well?
Yeah.
Or
how many people?
Yeah, so the last time I hosted it, we were with, I think, about 20, and most of them were strangers to each other. So usually we do like a build up, so there grows trust in the group, and then we allow them to meet in like a sacred circle almost, where it's like we open the circle, it's in silence, and then you, one by one, you can go and invite someone else to have a play fight session with you, and all the others are witnessing. They are just sitting there and witnessing for the few minutes that it's going on. So it's really like a whole experience, basically. Yeah.
so like, could you maybe like play fight with us? Could we run through? Is that possible to do like a short one, or you could direct how we could do this?
Yeah.
Because I think that would be super interesting, and maybe quite a valuable takeaway for our viewers to see kind of how you'd run something like this.
Mm-hmm. Well, how I do it, like usually I would, first, of course, you check in with you check in with the groups, what are the boundaries, like maybe there is no touching of like breasts or genitals, and then you go up to a person, like we would sit in a circle, so you go up to someone and you just sit there in front of this person, and like we hold a hand on our hearts and we wait until they do the same without any communication. Okay, when this person does the same, it means that they are saying yes to the invitation. Yeah. So then you go in the circle, and then from that moment on, there are not really any rules. So it can be really just a combination of you two, and it can be like very sensual, like more like a dance of like contact improvisation kind of style, or it can be, like I said, this really rough, animalistic, biting, scratching, growling, howling, like wild stuff. Yeah, or it can be also just really, really softly and more like with eye contact, having the eye contact like present all the time, and like moving really gently around each other and anticipating on each other's movements. So there's never really like a goal. It's not really a goal to press someone down with the shoulders on the floor. It's the meaning is just to explore, to experience, to be playful. And then when you feel with whoever who is playing feels that it's over, it's done for them, they just take a distance again, place the hand on the heart, and it's over. You go back into the circle without like having again communication, without bringing it up to the mental. You go back into the circle, and there is room for someone else to go in.
Wow.
So that's how we do it.
That is, I'm a bit lost for words at that, actually. When you first described it, I was like, sounds a bit like Fight Club. Like Fight Club for meditation, people in spirituality or something. And I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. But now you've described it, I was so taken in there. And like...
Have you never experienced something quite like that?
Well, I think... not directly like that, but I think I like to think of my relationships and interactions with people kind of like that, right? I think it like expands so easily in that like you enjoy the time you've had together, and then when it's over, it's over.
But I mean, like, also a lot of like communication, even say like in the bedroom, comes from nonverbal. So this is like a perfect way to really show how that nonverbal communication comes through.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it kind of takes you out of the moment when you have to explain. It. Like it just really does. So
Yeah, you're also really able to explore different desires that you might have in the bedroom in a more innocent, playful way, because these are strangers. You might not want to sleep with them or have sex with them, but you might be fine, you know, to roll around with them in your joggings. As long as they're not touching your boobs and your ass, you know, it's fine and fun, and you get to experience what it's like to have that kind of energy together with someone else, with another human being.
Okay, on that note though, I think I would feel more comfortable like pinning a girl down in an animalistic way that I'm like super horny for, than like, I don't know, a random man who just like came in off the street. Do you feel, how would I get over that, or am I interpreting this incorrectly?
Well, it depends on what your intention is, again, for the circle. Like, it can be also like a very sexual thing to invite another man into the circle with you, without it being like a sexual interaction between both of you, but more like, who's the alpha here, you know? Who's the strongest here? Like, let's see. Or it can also be more of a direction of like, can we be brothers? And can we have that brotherly sense of connection together during these play fights and connect through that?
Wow.
Is it, so are these normally with like, you know, like, what is the relationship generally in there? Like, does this happen quite often where it's this power struggle between men in a circle, or is it normally like male, female, or sorry, other sexes as well? Like, is there some kind of flow with this? Like,
no, it's usually like a pretty nice mix, and I guess like we are pretty open about it from the start, that this is not about like gaining sexual interactions with each other. So it is more about the intimacy, the connection overall. So it's if you share like a brotherly hug with another guy, like it's the same type of energy that will still feed you of like, okay, I've been touched, you know, my cells are being fed of like touch. And that's, I guess, what most people are caring for, is that, yeah, they feel connected to others.
I genuinely think this is so beautiful. Like, I only have sisters, right? I have 5 younger sisters, and I don't feel like, I definitely feel like missed like that, the brotherly bond. And I do kind of struggle in some ways to connect with guys, I would say, more than girls. And as you're saying this now, I'm being taken back to some like moments, like spiritual moments similar to this, where I've had that like bond, like a brotherly, like brotherhood together vibe with a guy. And it is like, yeah, it's cool, it's special. I think it's I think that's so awesome. I think I just think it's awesome.
And I just want to ask you, both of you, like tapping more into that animalistic side, like have you ever experienced yourself making animal sounds during sex, or?
I've definitely been on the receiving end of animal sounds. I feel like it's more of a male thing to do. I don't know why. It's just like,
yeah,
I tend to more like I guess I can't really say, I don't know, for foreplay. I do kind of make like sounds.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of I do it in like a playful way, but it's also just to like see if they'll respond to it and kind of go back with it. And I like doing that. Because I think it just really says a lot about someone if they're like, that's weird, like stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to, they don't like you. Like, let me be my like self. And I really enjoy it, and I think it just like kind of breaks the ice in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's not like I do it every time that like I'm, getting into it, but
no. I feel like this. I feel the same way. I was just saying it. If someone's like, "Hey, do you want to make that sound right now in normal life?" It feels a bit odd. But once you get into it, like, yeah, I can totally be taken back. Like if a girl's like, the growl. Yeah.
Like I'm gonna tear you apart.
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, like usually it is like cats or like bigger cats. But like imagine like sometimes maybe if you ever thought of making love as snakes or something, you know. It's like sometimes I also offer practices within tantric workshops where we go back to different kind of animals, like going as monkeys or as wolves or snakes or birds or whatever, and really tapping into all those different animals and seeing what kind of different energy that brings to the playfulness, to the sexual energy, you know. Like if you see two monkeys having sex, it's completely different than two humans. Like,
you know,
and what if you combine those, you know, a snake and a monkey? Like,
I'm genuinely just the thing. All that's been going through my head when you were saying that is like me is like she's a chicken and I'm a rooster, and then when I come, I go oh god. I'm just like yeah, but serious back to it. But wow, yeah, that's interesting. You know, this also brings up this idea. Okay, I'm interested to hear what you think about this, Minna, of a really famous actor. I can't remember, maybe like I don't know, some famous actor. When he was in acting school, they did a game where it was like you're a chicken and a nuclear bomb has just gone off, like ending the world. It's the end of the world. That was the scene. You're a chicken, and there were like 20 of them there, and they were like go, and then everyone was a chicken, like running around, and this like really famous actor, just like I think he played the Godfather, whatever his guy's name is.
Okay.
He just sat on the ground. He just sat on the ground like this, and then the teacher was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm a chicken. Like I don't know if the world's just ended." So, has anyone ever done anything similar like that? That was like so left field.
Very specific.
Super left field.
Well, like I guess you could also maybe say like, is there anyone that didn't really get into it that had a harder time into it?
And
definitely that, yes. Like when we do this type of practices, which are like so weird, so funny, like so out of the box and so out of the usual, like definitely people feel shame, they feel fear, and for many people these exercises are a step too far, you know. So it's definitely something that you need to get like into, and that needs to be a bit slowly built up and to be communicated about. Like I wouldn't advise like someone to say, okay, next time you have sex, start to act like a monkey, you know. Don't do that. Like, but maybe it can be interesting to communicate that to your partner, to maybe like, okay, guess which animal I am now, and then start like to play around with it. And yeah, definitely from my own experience, I can say once it was one of the most intense sexual experiences I had, and there was not even like genital touch really to it, because we just transformed into this animal, and like the whole range of like emotions, of like rage, of like survival, of love, of like sex, of like ravishing each other, that happened within, I don't know, like 20 minutes of like fighting with each other, biting, scratching, licking, pushing each other. And that's like so super intense, because through those 20 minutes you really go through life, basically through all the emotions that you have in life, and that by itself can feel very orgasmic.
Wow.
Yeah, so try it.
Wow.
Lost for words right now.
Yeah.
So was this somebody that you had already played with, or was this kind of like a new partner?
This was very new. Like it was a new friend, and we were watching a movie. It was pretty boring movie, and like at one point we were just in the couch, And I guess we started like pushing each other a little bit, you know, to make it a bit more interesting. But there was no sexual energy going on between us yet at that point. And then at one point, I think I pushed him out of the couch, and we started laughing, and he pulled me off as well. And you know, at that point we looked each other in the eyes, and it was, I think, silent for a minute. And I guess at that moment we both took the decision, okay, let's kill each other, but gently, you know. In a good way. So yeah, it just happened very naturally, and it didn't feel like there were boundaries, but still everything felt very contained in a way, you know, like it was very scary because it's in a way like it feels like, you know, someone is turning and taking you in a way that it could almost be like abusive. But I felt so much trust at that time and so much of that playfulness that I could completely surrender. And at one point when he had me like pushed on my back on the floor, I could really feel like this feminine energy of being like, okay, I surrender to your hands now, you know. And that was also a very beautiful moment to connect with that inner femininity of myself.
Wow.
Fuck.
I want to try this now.
Yeah, same. Like I've heard of things like this kind of in the ether, you know, as in like you can do different sexual things, but I've never like heard it described really in detail before. And I feel like you're only I feel like you're only really scratching the surface, no pun intended. But what would be the best advice you could give us if we want to find out more about this?
Well, if you want to definitely explore this type of orgasmic sensations or sexuality that is a bit different, you know, then I would suggest to let go a bit of the attachment to genital stimulation.
For sure. No, 100%. I can already agree with that, because like I have had minimal experiences where it has been like this, and it has just been like exploring the different points of my body that weren't related to sex. So no nipples, no like nothing, but just I have so many zones that I didn't know that I had. And I still remember that person, and he just wouldn't, I was like, I just want you. And he's like, no, he's like, just, it's okay. And he would just like whisper and touch my ear. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, I can't handle this. Like, and yeah, like it was like, honestly, probably the best the best sex I've ever had. And it was no sex. And like, even now, like past that, anytime that I try and communicate these things with like partners that I've had, I'm like touch me here, and then they're like, oh, like there. I'm like, and then they just keep going back to the genitals, and I'm like, stop touching my genitals. Like I want you to touch my fucking rib cage because it feels good, okay? But you gotta rub it in the right way, and you have to care. I want to feel your caring in your rib cage. And then I can orgasm, okay?
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
I feel like you're turning everything I've learned on my head. Like
not
helpful. Porn is not helpful.
No.
Is wasted.
It's definitely like
for nothing.
It's letting out the goal, you know, like, and especially I know it's harder for men because the goal is the thing for guys, you know, like this purpose, you know, going for this
yeah
thing.
yeah
That's the whole point. While it's a more feminine approach to not have that goal in a way, and to just explore for the sake of exploration, which then comes in again, if we talk about playfulness, it's so connected to that. And if as a man you want to explore also more feminine orgasms, which are more like this fulfilling, more of like full body type of orgasms, then this is the way to do it also as a man, you know, to let go of this goal.
Like it's just a radiating of your entire body, like just a warmth, like just everything. And a lot of men don't understand it. pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
I'd say just want to pump away.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard you mention pumping really at all. I genuinely, since starting this podcast, I feel like I've changed so much. I think this is by far the biggest one. Like, I genuinely don't know what to say. Like, I'm just like, everything's a lie. Like, I want to go outside and just shout at people like, it's all a lie. Like,
but it's true, like it is a lie. Like I feel in a way that the sexual education that we had is so focused on reproducing, on getting babies, and then pumping is the way, you know, that they teach us right. But if you talk about pleasure, then there's a whole different education that we missed. Because also for men, you know, like pumping is not always the only way to pleasure. There's so many roads that you can take.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you get into this? Like, are there any books you've read that you were like, this has been a game changer for me?
Well, definitely when I got more into Tantra, that's where I started to learn, because you have different ways of perspectives, let's say, of Tantra. And the one that I got taught and the one I was focused on was the non-genital way. So by that, you use definitely more of your energy, of the rest of your body. And by that, you learn to use breath, movement, sounds, and the intentions, you know, to really get all of that flowing. So look up Tantra, like go for courses in that, because in a way, like you won't learn it from books, you know, you have to kind of experience it. You really have to get that body moving, flowing, that energy going to really experience it and to feel it. And that takes practice. And I remember, actually, it's funny because you guys are in Bansko, but every time I went to the supermarkets, I practiced Tantra in Bansko because the roads are so shitty. Like you cannot walk with your phone in your hand because you would trip over because the roads are so fucked up, right? So that would be the perfect time for me to practice Tantra. And in that way, for me, it was the breathing, very conscious breathing, like deep in and out inhalations through my mouth, you know, letting out that sigh of like, just down the street, you know, and allowing that without any shame, and moving my body also in a different way, you know, moving my hips maybe in a different way that is more sensual, you know, being more conscious about the way how I move my body. And then my intention would be to raise sexual energy through my body, even though when I'm just walking to the supermarket. And by doing that on very diverse different moments, you learn to do that more and more and more. So when you are in sexuality, you will start to do it like by itself, you know, it will become your second nature to have that deep relief sigh and to breathe deeply, and so your orgasms will be more intense already.
Very, very interesting.
Wow.
I'm kind of just also thinking back to like if I've ever run into you in the street and if I've interrupted it.
You're like shaking on the street out. Like, you're like, oh, hey, Sam, like, don't mind me.
You look happy.
You look happy. You're like lying, convulsing on the pavement.
Well, I guess that's like the biggest also misconception about Tantra, that it's all about bliss and about like orgasmic states, because Tantra really stands for allowing everything what is. So if also during that play fight I was having with that partner, with that friend, like I was allowing the rage, I was allowing, you know, the fear, the sadness, the everything, you know, and that's what makes that orgasmic sensation so deep, because you allow every vessel of your body to be involved, and not only the bliss parts, not only the happy parts.
Well, and I think that this would actually be super important, because like we were actually talking with one of our friends the other day about how like men don't think a lot during sex, but women do think a lot during sex. So basically, taking over these different parts and actually just exploring them and letting them all out rather than keeping them boiled in. And because like I wasn't thinking when that person, like I was just like feeling, and I was very much more in the moment, but it's like very difficult to get in the moment. But if you're doing these things, like exploring these different parts of yourself and understanding these different parts of yourself and not just focusing attention on one thing, it really makes it easier to let go, to surrender, to be a part of all of these different moments and places. Yeah. So
I had something I was going to say, but I shouldn't. That was it. It was in terms of, I think a lot of issues with sexuality, the more talks we've had, it seems like communication is really important. And that in terms of talking with your partner and communicating with them. But I think there's also, in that sense, what I'm trying to get at is that sometimes you're suppressing things and you're not communicating, but really by allowing everything, you're not labeling anything as good or bad. You're just letting it all out. And in that you can experience, I don't know, joy, everything. I'm not sure how to end that sentence, but by letting it all out, you're kind of free and you can flow and you
feel alive.
Feel alive.
That's the whole thing. Like when you have an orgasm, like how does it feel? I feel deeply, deeply alive, you know? And that's the whole point of it. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
So beautiful.
I really want to come to one of your workshops.
Yeah.
And I will. Yeah. At some point, or hopefully you'll make it back to Bansko and we can do one here. And then we can talk about it as well. We can talk about it. We can have like a live play.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Right? I mean, one day when we can all touch each other again and lick each other. And I miss licking. So bad.
She licks me a lot.
I lick a lot of people. I really.
You both like licking.
No, she likes licking, and
Okay.
A lot of people don't like it when I
don't really like it when she licks my face just randomly.
I've learned that it's not consent.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not.
I should stop.
Should probably stop that.
But anyway, it was absolutely incredible to have you on our show. Do you have any like final thoughts or anything that you wanted to share with us about this topic? It's okay if you don't. Don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, I would say one of the best things that I can advise, like all the time, like I try to tell it to as many people as I can. It's about that communication part, where you're doing something to someone else, you're giving them pleasure in a way, and many people would ask, or they wouldn't, like many people wouldn't ask anything, but when people would ask something, they would ask often like, am I doing this good? Am I doing this well? You know, do you like it this way? But the much better question is, how can I do it better?
Yeah.
Or how would you like it differently? And this also sparks this like curiosity and this playfulness again, because many times when you would just ask, am I doing fine? Like the other person is gonna say yes, good, okay, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But if you already open up with that open question of like, how can I do things better or differently? This gives a chance to the person who's receiving to ask something pretty random.
I don't think I've had a conversation like this in a long time where Minna, like most of the things you're saying are like hitting me like square in the face and just leaving me like whoa, that's just powerful shit. Like it's just I'm tearing up a bit.
You are. He is.
I'm genuinely tearing up a bit. Yeah. Like
wow, guys, thank you.
genuinely, like thank you so much. This has been amazing. I would love to talk to you again, for sure, and definitely want to like explore this more. Definitely want to do one of your workshops, and yeah, just like profound thank you for sharing this with us.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be of service, and I think I will return to Bansko. Now I hear your enthusiasm. Let's make it there also, maybe. a small retreat or something, you know, like a few days of workshops and
So, yeah.
And if
100%.
you or someone else needs like more advice on it, like I give online coaching as well at this time. So
perfect. Yeah. We'll definitely be sharing that because this has been such a good inspiration.
Yeah.
And we'll link to your page on our page.
Cool.
We post the video.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again. And it was great catching up with you. And for anyone watching, please subscribe, please comment, please like, share.
If you want to come on the show, if you've enjoyed this episode, I recommend you diving into this topic. But if you have something that you would like to talk to us about, that you feel passionate about, we would love to have you. We want to talk about everything to do with relationships and sex,
dating, friendships, playfulness. Like there's so much that goes into human relationships, and we want to talk about it. We want to learn. We want to learn with you and go forward in this crazy sex weird world together.
And on that note, we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much again, Minna, and thank you for watching.
Bye. Bye.